Hello there, and welcome to this edition of Thought for the Week. It's great to be with you again. We've been spending the last few weeks looking at the church in Antioch. Quite a special church. It's the church in which the Lord established the Apostle Paul and also Barnabas, two of the great heroes of the New Testament. It was a remarkable church, made up of many different kinds of people, and in the leadership itself, you had a very rich mix. That's part of the excitement of a local church, being able to relate to people who are very different from ourselves, but we have certain things in common. One is that we have been born again by the Spirit of God. We're disciples of Jesus. Jesus died for us on the cross, and how wonderful it is to be in fellowship together. Well, in the church at Antioch, something extraordinary had happened. Their two best men, Barnabas and Saul, had been separated out by the Holy Spirit. They had released them for whatever the Lord wanted of them, and the Holy Spirit anointed them. He gave them his authority to move out into that ministry to which he'd called them. And what a ministry it was. If you're interested to find out, just have a look at Acts chapter 13 and also chapter 14. Because those two chapters describe the first apostolic adventure in which Paul was engaged. They got up to some exciting things as the Holy Spirit led them, traveling here and there, preaching the word in Jewish synagogues and in other situations as well. They faced tremendous opposition, but they've experienced tremendous blessing too. And the number of people who were encouraged and changed through their ministry, well, who could tell? It was just so great. But at the end of that apostolic adventure, they knew that they had to do something very important, and that was to come home. Come home to Antioch, from which they'd been sent out, from which they'd been released. Come home and give an account of what the Lord had done with them, because what he'd done with Saul and Barnabas, he had actually done with the church at Antioch, because they were still part of that fellowship, even though they were operating far from it. So what happened? Saul and Barnabas came home again. Let me pick it up in Acts 14 and verse 23. Paul and Barnabas appointed elders in the last church they visited, elders for the church, and with prayer and fasting, committed them to the Lord in whom they'd put their trust. After going through Pisidia, they came into Pamphylia. These are the names of Roman provinces. And when they'd preached the word in Perga, they went down to Attalia, and from Attalia they sailed back to Antioch, where they'd been committed to the grace of God for the work they'd now completed. On arriving there in Antioch, they gathered the church together and reported all that God had done through them and how he'd opened the door of faith to the Gentiles, to the non-Jews. And they stayed there a long time in Antioch with the disciples. You see how tremendous that is? Out from the church, back into the church, to report on the blessing that had accrued because the church in Antioch had been prepared to release them into the ministry that the Holy Spirit called them to. That ability to release people into ministry at the personal cost of a local church is a tremendous thing and a real act of faith. What is the Lord calling you to? Is your church prepared to release you into that ministry so that the Holy Spirit can send you out into great adventures of faith with him? It's a blessing to be part of a church like that. I'm sure that Saul and Barnabas were glad of that ongoing support of the Antioch believers. Oh, what a blessing. Well, be encouraged this week and be glad that you're part of a local church, and pray that your local church will be one in which gifts are acknowledged, recognized, and in which you are being sent out to do great exploits for God. The Lord bless you then. Bye-bye for now.